I think at this stage, if you can stomach your team, go for it for a few more game weeks, I think.
I'm totally with you. I mean, you get more information. You just got these guys 2 weeks ago. You did all the research in preseason. Trust yourself, back yourself. You can fix minor issues using free transfers. There's plenty of time to go. No sense in panicking. So anyway, I activated my wildcard on Saturday night.
Okay, Siva.
Oh, this is the thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the FPL Banger Show. My name is Siva. I'm joined by Sam. Game week 3, Sam. And have you hit the wildcard button yet?
I have not, Siva. I have not. But I'm very, very tempted. I have to admit, mostly because of my defense. Can I talk about my game week 2 for a bit? Because I'm kind of proud of my moves in game week 2.
Sure. Let's have it.
Yeah, so I brought in Foden. Very happy with his 0 points. Captain him too, so that was great. I took out Gordon for Foden like 5 minutes before deadline. I was actually halfway in a football match. So I think in one of the breaks, I just took out my phone, saw that it's 5 minutes to deadline. Didn't read any transfer news, so I had no idea that Foden was not gonna go or something. Yeah. So just did it, continued on in my football game. Later on saw that he didn't travel with the squad, was sad. Vice captain Son, so that worked out, yeah. However, Gordon did score, so I did miss out on 10 points. My team I would have had a great week if I just did not do anything and missed the deadline. So, and that seems to be a recurring theme, Siva.
I'm pretty sure that'll be on your headstone. Sam, if he had not made a transfer, he would have got a green arrow. But
yeah, yep.
Vice captain Son, mate. I mean, that's what 1 point. Oh, 2 points with captaincy, less than Haaland.
3 points if you triple captain. No, wait, does that work that way? No, I don't know. My math is bad. No, so it only works if you don't have Haaland. But sorry, I'm getting my thoughts wrong. It only works well if you have Haaland and other people don't have Son. But because I don't have Haaland, so it's just a like for like. So there's not a big difference, I guess. The 1 point.
But it's damage control, right? And it's kind of your team's kind of
in a way.
It sort of tells us the story of this week, and maybe could be this season, that even if you don't have Haaland, and yes, he was amazing this week, fair play if you went triple captain and all that, but that doesn't mean, Salah returned, Son returned, Saka returned, Palmer returned. You could make up the point somewhere else, and it's still an ongoing debate, I would say.
Yeah. Actually, let's open with that, right? Is Haaland essential? Right? I think that's a good starting point because a lot of people are on wildcard. Some do get Haaland in. Is he essential in your team? What do you think, Siva?
I've gone back and forth on this. I definitely, when I first started making my drafts for the season, I had Haaland in every draft. Then, like I think we discussed, right, about half an hour before deadline, I wasn't satisfied with my game week 1 team, and I just took Haaland out and I went in with like an amazing midfield of Saka, Salah, Son. So far, it's done okay. I'm about 1.5 mil, which is about average. There are people much worse off and some people better. Will I say that Haaland is essential? No, but I think the difference that Haaland has compared to the other premiums, Saka, you could argue Havertz, we're not talking coverage, but Havertz typically will return if Arsenal do well. Salah, you could argue Diaz and Jota have been doing quite well. Minutes less, but they're still returning. Cole Palmer, well, I don't know. Madueke, who knows? We'll see. But it's Chelsea, right? We don't know. Who do you cover Haaland with? You're not confident about any of their minutes. Foden didn't even show up this week.
He was ill. He was sick.
Yeah, but Savinho and KDB played so well, and the team just played so well that it's no guarantee that Foden walks straight back in. Foden's not had preseason. He's basically been flogged over the summer at the Euros where he was awful, as you will recall. Haaland's in his own league. There are way less forwards. I mean, there are you can count on one hand how many good forwards there are in this game. Like,
That's true. That's
it-
true.
it's, yeah. So Haaland's more expensive, sure, but he's in a class of his own. And you could argue in many ways Haaland's just a safe, boring kind of pick, right? You know you're going to get probably a goal a week. He's now getting bonus points, which presumably because of the change in the system, forwards who score tend to do well on bonus. I don't say it's essential, but I find it interesting that a lot of people on Wildcard Game Week 3, especially the more analytical people, let's say, have decided that Haaland's not necessary purely because of his fixtures, which I don't think are that bad either.
Is there a bad fixture for City? Come on, except Arsenal, I would say. That's probably their most challenging fixture.
Which is coming up,
I
which
would
I
say-
assume why.
Yeah. I would say that Haaland plus Morgan Rogers equals to 20 mil. Am I right? That's the equivalent of Palmer and Saka.
It's a
Right?
good way to look at it.
So do you think, I mean, this is money balling it a bit, but do you think Palmer and Saka will score more points than Haaland and Rogers combined at the end of the season? Or even half the season?
Sure. I mean, that's a very simple but effective way of saying yes, Palmer and Saka would. But captaincy, see, now you can leave your captaincy on Haaland and go to sleep, and you will have like a baseline. You assume maybe 7 points each week, could be higher. You can't do that, or you just wouldn't with Palmer and Saka. Maybe you could, but you just won't. You'll keep switching between them, and you will miss some hauls, right? I went for Isak on game week 1 when I should have gone Salah. You'll do things like that, and if you think about it, how shall I put it? If you count captaincy, you're getting Haaland for 7.5 million. Think about it that way. Because divided into two, you're getting 2 Haaland. See, Moneyball to the next level. Okay. Whereas you're not always going to captain Palmer or Saka. And some weeks you may just feel, I don't feel confident. You wouldn't have captained Palmer this week against Wolves. No one would have considered that. And so I think it's harder. I think Palmer and Saka are great, but I don't think it works the same way, the comparison.
Yeah. I guess there is no definitive way to look at it, right? It's a risk to go without Haaland. It may work out, it may not work out. Like you said, captaincy makes it a bit more complicated that you can't do a direct, Moneyball point for point comparison. However, you could argue that you could captain Palmer consistently, and if he continues on from last season, you will end up with more points than Haaland. So, but again, you can't you can't expect everything from last season. You can't expect this season to be the exact same as last season. So I see your point. So in conclusion, we have no conclusion. Get Haaland if you want, but I would think personally that you can probably survive without Haaland as well. Yes, it is scary in game weeks like this where everyone triple captains him and he returns with a hat trick. But you could triple captain Palmer on another week and he also scores like how he did this week. So you won't know for sure until you play your triple captain.
One thing I will say about Haaland is that the price rises have made things very difficult for people who don't already have him, because he's now 15.1. Salah's 12.6. We're recording on Wednesday, so Salah has just risen. Saka and Palmer surely will rise soon. And so these discussions get harder and harder. It's effectively 15.1 mil at this stage could be 15.5 unless you're going to go for somebody who's fallen like a Bruno to make up the difference. And so you kind of, even if you don't know the answer now, you have to sort of commit to either 1 or 2 or both or none, because within 2 to 3 weeks, you won't be able to afford a team that someone else is able to afford. And I think we've always said a price change is not a big deal. Get more information. That's more important. But that was when pricing was really chill and everybody was very affordable. That was when Palmer was 5 mil and so on. Now everybody's so expensive. And this year pricing is so much harder to achieve. So you kind of, whatever strategy you're going for, you need to commit sooner is what I would say. And if you're going to bet against Haaland, you may end up having to buy Haaland in game week 7 for, I don't know, 15.5, closer to 16 mil. And at that point, you're going to feel like an idiot.
I see what you mean. With every passing game weeks, it becomes harder to switch your strategy. So, just choose one and commit to it, I guess. But at the same time, if 5 game weeks in and you gotta bite the bullet, if Haaland is 20, 30 points, you're getting hat tricks every single week for the next 5 game weeks, then sunk cost fallacy if you try and stick with your strategy and it's not working, right? So gotta be flexible a bit. But ideally, I guess what you're saying, the advice is stick to a strategy right now, at least for the next few weeks, and you just gotta stay strong and believe in yourself.
Very inspirational. But so we're talking macro before we get into like the games and the players specifically. Talking about wildcard, Sam, how do you feel? Do you think it's too early? You've just got a game week 1 team. You don't know enough. International breaks coming up. Do you think wildcard game week 3 is just way too soon?
I'll give the flakiest FPL influencer who don't want to give a strong opinion answer, which is it is team dependent, Siva. It depends on your team. But it's true. I mean, if it's just minor changes and the difference is not that big, not only in terms of the actual player, how much is, but the point potential of your player, then I would say no, it's a bit too early. Save your transfer or just make a free transfer and bite it first for a while, because it's so unpredictable at the start of the season. A lot of teams still haven't had their players bedded in yet. United, for example, Bruno's still playing false 9. I would think that in the next game he'll probably go back to AM. Zexi will come in. Maybe Maguire finally gets dropped and Dalit starts playing. We got Ugarte, who just probably will be coming in by the end of this game week, but not necessarily start straight away. A lot of teams like that. So it's still so unpredictable in terms of the players' positions, the players, are they first choice, are they backup? So I would say it's too early. However, if your team is a total mess and you have 5 players who are not playing, you have Barco, you have Face, you Konsa, Hall, like that's your backline, and you really have no choice, then you got to do it, I guess. So team dependent, really. Can you get by? I think if you feel like you can survive, like I'm not happy with my team. I have triple Fulham defense. Leno, Robinson, and Anderson.
So not by
Looks
choice.
good this coming game week. Not by choice. I wanted double, had Anderson in, so now I can't bring in ESR even though I want to. Blocked out that move. However, if Robinson goes to United, then then it opens up again. But anyway, but I think I can survive. I can stomach a triple Fulham defense for the next few weeks at least, and make more optimal transfers elsewhere, or maybe just even roll a transfer because it's more valuable to have 2 further down the road. So that's where I'm at. I think at this stage, if you can stomach your team, go for it for a few more game weeks, I think.
I'm totally with you. I mean, you get more information. You just got these guys 2 weeks ago. You did all the research in preseason. Trust yourself, back yourself. You can fix minor issues using free transfers. There's plenty of time to go. No sense in panicking. So anyway, I activated my wildcard on Saturday night.
Okay, Siva. Yes. No time for panicking. So you didn't panic while activating our card. It was a very thought out, cool-headed decision.
No, I stayed up all night. I mean, I gave it a lot of thought. Okay, first of all, my team's not a disaster. I don't have multiple problems. I had one problem, which is Kwanzaa. Got rid of him. I've had an okay start because my gaming 1 was strong. Gaming 2 was fine because I had Sun. So I'm not in dire straits. So that's not the reason I wildcarded. I wildcarded because price rises is a lot to do with it. And on Saturday, I could see that Haaland was going up. I could see this week going ahead, Rodgers would go up, Salah would go up. And I got a bit lucky in the sense that these price rises are actually happening and other guys are dropping. I had Solanke, which is a bit annoying because I know he's going to drop at some point. And I just thought, if I want, there's not an optimal, but there's a team that I have in mind and I can only afford it this week. I will not be able to afford it next week and I will never be able to afford it again. And so my feeling was, I've got the information I kind of want and I'm happy to proceed. I kind of know which are the budget enablers I'm comfortable with to enable, say, a Salah plus Haaland team. I kind of know that premium keepers could be pretty good on bonus. Not every week, but looks like most weeks. And
Yeah. Let's
yeah,
talk on
so
that more later, I think, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
I
and
see your point, Siva.
yeah, like I think we now know Morgan Rogers is like for real, and it's not just some preseason hype pick. We know that Barco's not for real. See, we do know some things. We don't know everything, but you will never know everything, and information will change, right? People thought Nkunku was going to be, not us, but people thought Nkunku was a great pick. Those same people are now telling you that Madueke is just a hype pick. Debatable. So I've activated it. I'm comfortable with my decision. It's not for everyone, and I wouldn't ask you to do it. In fact, I would say that we're recording Thursday. If you haven't done it already, you probably aren't interested in doing it this late in the week. I've got all the price rises I wanted to get. I've already made like 0.7 million from just activating on Saturday night. So to me, that seems like I think it'll be an advantage. Could be a disadvantage. We'll see.
Yeah. I think it's just a risk to do it. Now it's whether you can stomach that risk a lot, because the risk is that in 2 weeks' time, suddenly their performance drop, and this optimal team that you have in your mind is suddenly not the optimal team anymore, right?
That's true.
But I think over the years we've seen it, Siva, where sometimes it works, and early wildcard really works and turns your season around, or really propels you up, and sometimes it is a disaster, and you're wishing you still had that wildcard 3-4 weeks from now. It's a risk to take. You just decide if you want to take it or not.
Yeah, and I mean macro point, but we've always said this. Now that you can roll 5 frees, never gonna happen, as it seems. But at some point, you'll have like 3 frees, hopefully, to roll. And so, I think the fact that there are far less double game weeks, far less blanks, wildcard 1 is not as as important as it once was. That's my working theory. We'll find out if that's true or not. Subject to King Charles staying healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about. I mean, Morgan Rogers, I think, is a good place to sort of get into this week. So Villa Arsenal was a really interesting game. I thought Villa were really unlucky to not get anything. And so, what we've got on the screen now is that chance that Morgan Rogers creates for Watkins, which, I mean, even as I was putting this together, like, how does he not score this? Like, there's 2 big sides of the goal open, and somehow Watkins misses it. So Morgan Rogers, Sam, up to 5.1 million today. Are you sold?
If I was looking for a player in that price bracket, 5 to 5.5, yeah, I would say Morgan Rogers would be the top pick. He looks really attacking, very involved. And looks like his place is secured for now, at least for now.
Back-to-back 90s, which I think is really encouraging considering the amount of options they have. I mean, that's more than Watkins.
Yeah.
More minutes than Bailey. Yeah, he's not taking a lot of shots. He's kind of got more assist potential, and he's making a lot of fancy runs, but he's 5 mil. Yeah. They've got amazing fixtures in the next 4, and it's still ultimately a decent team. And he's competing with the likes of, well, unfortunately, Sam, not everybody has triple Fulham defense, so everyone else has ESR.
Yeah.
Citro.
I would say Smith Rowe and Semenyo will probably be his main, the other best 2 options in their prices, and they're both more expensive. They're
more expensive.
Semenyo is 5.5, Smith Rowe is 5.6. The only other option I would consider around there is maybe Minte, Yankuba Minte, but I don't know. I get the impression that Minte is one of those players that won't be able to hold, be consistent throughout the whole season. Purple patch
So
sort
they've
of
got
player.
like 50 players, right?
Yeah.
And they don't even have Europe, mate. I don't know what they're stockpiling these guys for.
But yeah, so I mean, the only 2 competition, I think, in that price bracket, Smith Rowe, Semenyo. But Rogers is cheaper by 0.4, 0.5. So Rogers, I guess, if you're really budget. Smith Rowe has decent fixtures too, as well, coming up. Ipswich this week, West Ham and Newcastle both at home, and then Forest away. And then Semenyo's fixtures are not as nice. I mean, he has a nice fixture this week, Everton away, but then after that, Chelsea at home, Liverpool away, before a nice 2 fixtures Southampton and Leicester, and then a horror run with Arsenal, Villa, and City back to back. So it's I like how he looks. I'm really tempted, but just with those fixtures, so it's really hard, I think, to justify bringing him in over, Rodgers over Smith Rowe.
Yeah, so it's a fixture play, and you give Rodgers this run of fixtures, goes out. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, yeah, I think at the end of the four or five fixture run, then you can, lose some funds maybe from say Salah, bring him down to say a Saka, and then you can upgrade Rodgers up to Brian Mbeumo. There are
Yeah.
options.
I guess the appeal with Rodgers is just that you don't expect a lot of points from him. Any sort of return would be a bonus, but it's just what he enables in your team, which is probably to have, if you're going to have Salah and Haaland, you need a playing 5.0-ish player, right? That's the only way you're going to make it work.
And he's like levels above anybody at say the 4.5 million bracket, that it's almost, and again, this is a mistake I made on my Game Week 1 team, is that it's almost like it's punishable that you are going with somebody like Harry Winks instead of Morgan Rogers. Like for 0.5, now 0.6, it's just worth it. And if this assist had resulted in the goal, if Watkins had converted this, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Everyone would have just already gone with him. So the skepticism is purely based on outcomes, which isn't how you should play this game.
Outcome bias.
Yeah. So,
I agree. Yeah.
But blanking
If
against
need
Arsenal.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. It's a good option, definitely. I'm on the Rodgers hype train. I'm not saying it's essential. Like, only if you need a player in that price bracket. If not, I feel there are loads of players who are better than him to have in your team. But if you need one, a cheap playing player who has a chance of attacking returns, then Rodgers is your guy.
Okay. So let's go up a few price brackets and talk about Chelsea. Because I thought Chelsea Wolves was a really weird game. Like, Wolves had more XG, but it's so unreflective of the actual game because Wolves just really didn't defend well. But Chelsea has I mean, let's not get carried away because I'm very aware that Chelsea did this against Luton last season. I think it's Game Week 3 or Game Week 2 where they went wild. I think Sterling had a double-digit haul and then they blanked for the next 10 weeks. But this feels a bit different, right? This felt like this was Chelsea. I don't know. I thought Cole Palmer obviously was class, and so what we've got on the screen now is his goal, which was ridiculous. Like Rob Sanchez launches it, Jackson heads it on, Cole Palmer first time. Just he's built different. Madueke scored the same goal 3 times in 50 minutes, which is after calling Wolverhampton a shit town.
Yeah. It's like a proper FIFA glitch or something. Like he just kept doing the same thing.
The same damn goal. I mean, Ait Nuri, at some point, I love Ait Nuri, but needed to defend better. But all of this, we're talking about
a lot of, sorry, just to build on that, I seen Wolves fans complain because he switched to a back 4 instead of a back 5, which Wolves fans feel that contributed to the huge loss because the players that they have are just not suited to playing in a back 4. Like Ait Nuri and I believe Doherty was on the other side. And they are wing backs, not full backs. So yeah, got skinned in the game, got destroyed. I personally, I have Palmer. I'm very happy to have had Palmer. However, I would not touch any other Chelsea player in this team because I just feel the points are going to be spread. I'm not saying they won't return. You will have a week where like this, where Madueke returns, Jackson return. Maybe next week he won't return. He won't score for the next 5 games. Suddenly a goal. Felix is coming in. Nkunku. I mean, I think the returns in the rest of the team will be spread out, but therefore very hard to predict. And the only Chelsea player I will get right now is Palmer. Won't touch the defense at all. Yeah, that's where I'm at with Chelsea. That's my conclusion from their first 2 games.
I think that's fair. The thing about Madueke is like a week ago, Maresca was talking about maybe he's going to leave the club. There were reports that he was going to leave. So this is very much in flux. Nkunku has gone from being, to be fair, played almost every minute of preseason to barely getting any minutes against Wolves. So it's all up for grabs. To be fair to Maresca, he's still working this out. I think the long-term lineup probably sees Pedro Neto in. He's just too good to leave out. João Felix looked really good. They're being linked to Ivan Toney. The only constant in all of this is Cole Palmer, who has maintained a ridiculous record of scoring goals and assisting since he joined the club. So I think you're right. I agree with you. Palmer's the only nail choice. Anybody else you take, you are taking. You may get lucky, but you're just gambling. And I agree with you. The defense is not. I mean, I'm tempted by Levi Colwill, but it's just they just don't know how to defend, right? They'll get there though. I think there will be a point where we want Chelsea defense, but because they're priced cheaply, but not yet. But all of this aside, what do you think about Cole Palmer this week over, say, the likes, especially if you're wildcarding, right? Over the likes of Saka, maybe Salah may be more debatable, but definitely over Saka because Palmer, his next
comparable price as well.
Comparable price, 5 more. Next 5 fixtures look great. This week he starts off against Palace. Palace have no Anderson. Okay, he's probably going. They lost their replacement centre back last night in the Carabao Cup. Chadi Riyad picked up an injury. They're going to end up playing Rob Holding and Nathaniel Klein at this rate.
I mean, and their manager is upset. I think that's a big deal because Glasner has always been really calm. And I read that even Palace fans were shocked that he came out and spoke in such a way, And if I were him, I'll be upset. If you're going to sell your 2 starting centre backs in the same window, that's crazy, By the way, Anderson assisted last night for Fulham, so that's a good sign.
Good for you. Eze also returned for all Eze owners. Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm worried with Palace. I'm happy to have Palmer, and I think it's a captainable fixture, especially if you don't own the other premiums like Salah. You don't own Haaland. Palmer against Wolves? Against Palace, very captainable.
Okay. So, short answer is not sold on any other Chelsea assets, and I can't disagree with you about that. I'm not too worried even if Ivan Toney just come to Chelsea, by the way. This is still speculation at this point. I don't see penalties being taken off Cole Palmer. He's never missed one. He's the man there. And I think it'll help to have a slightly more competent finisher than compared to Nicholas Jackson. So I don't see this as a bad thing.
Yeah, happy to keep Palmer. As for Saka, though, Saka is such a tricky player to judge, maybe. Because, you look at the fixtures and you're looking, okay, Arsenal, tough fixtures coming up. But Saka tends to perform. The only thing about Saka is that he kind of trickles along throughout the whole season. He doesn't really have big hauls. He will, don't get me wrong, but not as often as, say, Palmer or Foden even, or Haaland, Salah. But if you hold Saka the entire season, you're definitely getting like 200 plus point player.
Yeah. I think for
fixture
me,
proof as well. Will play every single game.
Saka's a great asset. I think no doubt about that. On pens as well, set pieces, just comes in clutch. Like he can score from nothing. These next 3 fixtures, okay, Brighton's a good fixture, I would say. Attacking wise, United really should have done better. Spurs, also not a bad fixture. But City in between, and that's almost basically a blank. And that's why somebody like Cole Palmer, these margins are small, but I think it's worth, especially with a wildcard, I would gamble without Saka for this maybe 3 fixtures.
Yeah, but then after that though, Saka has Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth in a row, so that's great. And maybe it's a case, if you're wildcarding now, you might as well put it in because I can see returns coming in the next few games definitely. Even City away, possible. If someone's gonna make it happen for Arsenal, it would be Saka, I would say. My issue right now is that I'm not sure if I want double Arsenal like Havertz and Saka, but perhaps that is a mistake in itself by judging it, together, whereas you should judge each player individually and what they can return for you. Perhaps.
Yeah. Yes and no. I think, baskets aside, right? But Havertz is cheaper, and so that covers, say, game week 6. You can't bring in Saka. You've still got something to get from that Arsenal attack. Palmer still has good fixtures. In fact, the question is probably more about whether you sell Salah if you have Salah. A lot of people will have Salah For game week 4, they play Forest. But by game week 6, you may need to move Salah down to Saka. You're going to have to mess about with the premiums quite a bit. No one's a season keeper, I think.
And I like it. I like the fact that you can't fit in everyone, because we could last season, and I think the season before as well. Like, it felt like pricing was kind of easy. I like the fact that you gotta make difficult choices like this. You gotta go without Saka if you want the rest. If you want Salah, can you cover Salah's points with Jota and then bring in Saka? That kind of stuff. I love it. It brings a bigger dimension to FPL, I guess, to playing FPL.
Yep, I think we're all agreed about that. It's a much better game in that sense. Let's talk about, since we're talking about a bit about Salah, let's talk about Liverpool. And so I posted this thing on Twitter yesterday about how for 22 million, depending on when you bought them, you can have Jota, Diaz, and Trent. Or for 22 million, you could have had Rodgers, Salah, and Ezri Konsa. And I got actually much more balanced responses than I thought. I thought everyone would be like, you can't compare that. Diaz, Jota, minutes, risks, rotation, don't touch them. Actually, a lot of people were quite keen on that option rather than going for Rodgers and Konsa. So,
but is it
what do you think
just
about that?
recency bias? I don't know, because
Every
Jota, I'm
everything's recency
very
bias.
happy. I'm very happy with Jota because he's shown in previous seasons that when he gets the minutes, he will score. He will return. Diaz, on the other hand, has been kind of streaky in previous seasons. Not really a consistent asset throughout the whole season. And I don't know if just this, first two games, especially the last game, which opened everyone's eyes to Diaz, whether he goes back to his streakiness. I mean, he plays well in real life. I'm talking about FPL points-wise. He doesn't always get that final return. However, new system, new manager, maybe, he with this new system, he gets to be in attacking positions more. It's still too early to tell, I feel. So I guess the appeal of Salah is just he's safe. He will start every game. He will be in and among the points. Is he worth the price? I don't know. Is he points per value wise? That's arguable. But at least with this asset you can captain, he will start and he will be among the returns.
Do we know that Salah's that safe? I feel a lot of these people keep telling me that, but I think a lot of that is based on what Klopp did, and I don't think we've already seen that Arne Slot is quite different from Klopp. Klopp wouldn't have taken Kwanzaa off with 45 minutes in.
Yeah. Are you saying that Salah will lose his place? Come on, Tira.
Of course not. But what I'm saying is that Champions League starts after the international break, and this season Champions League's way more tiring because there are more fixtures.
Some weird group stage where everyone's in the same group, but you don't play against everyone, kind of thing.
Some nonsense where you it's not home and away, and it's drawn up by some Excel sheet. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to get into it. But the thing is, okay, it's got more fixtures. Is the long story there? And Salah did come off this week. He came off a few minutes after the Diaz, but he did come off for Harvey Elliott. And there's no guarantees. We've seen Trent has been taken off. Trent also wasn't happy about it. Arne Slot talked about it. These back-to-back early subs. This time Trent really had a very long face. So was walking around, not smiling. I think the players will be fine, and they'll accept that it's just part of the. Arne Slot's a lot more about control. Like, they are not interested in maybe blowing out teams. They're interested in getting the win and holding on. Making sure it's a comfortable victory.
Yeah,
I definitely think Salah's minutes logically aren't going to be as safe as they were under Klopp. He's gonna not get rotated, but he will probably come off early. And so 12.5 mil, he's been excellent so far. 24 points, match Haaland. That's all great. He's looking amazing on bonus as well. But it comes back to my earlier question. Would you not rather have Trent and Diaz over Konsa and Rodgers? And I don't think you can say no to that.
I mean, I'm biased because I don't have Salah. And yes, I feel that you can cover the points without Salah, with Jota. Not necessarily even Diaz, It can be a different player. It doesn't have to be from Liverpool. But I feel that you probably could Trent, Jota, and 7.5 would be. Let me see who is 7.5. Diaz is 7.5, right? 7.5.
Diaz is 7.5, Jota 7.6.
Those are players. Gordon, which is ironic because I just took Gordon out. Madison's been looking pretty decent. I think Bowen will. I really think Bowen will be a player all of us will be looking at very soon. Mbeumo has also been doing well, Eze. So I think that you can cover his points with other players, especially if you're doing Salah and Haaland. Because if you're paying the premium for Salah but not captaining him every week, then that really brings down their value, points per value.
Yeah. I look at these next few weeks, and the only week I really think Salah's like, I must captain him at all costs is like game week 5 because Haaland plays Arsenal. And in other weeks, probably just happy to just leave it on Haaland. And so, yeah, it depends on what your strategy is. But I think I have Salah right now, and I'm very tempted by gambling on this. Everybody tells me it's a horrible idea. Gakpo, Darwin will take minutes. But to me, they could just as well take minutes from Salah. I think that feels
And I think
logical.
to elaborate more, I did read that it's a signature of him, of Slot, where in his previous club he always takes his wingers out around 60 minutes. And maybe he hasn't been really able to do that with Salah yet because they don't have not to knock the other players, but a proper capable like for like replacement on the right wing. But they are in the market. There's a lot of news surrounding them, their search for a right winger. They're looking at Chiesa, I believe, and a few other players. So a player will probably come in which case, like you said, when Champions League comes along, Salah coming off earlier at 60 minutes is a very big possibility, I feel. So I see your point, Siva. And yeah, I would go the non-Salah route, especially if you already have Haaland.
Yeah, it's really annoying because, like I say, especially those of us who have Salah already, we've got that price rise. It's really going to be painful to drop him. But I think this is a gamble. I think Arne Slot, one of the interesting things was he managed Minte last season, and Minte always came off. He never played 90, and people said that's like a knock against him. But that's just how Slot does it. And even when he was questioned about subbing Trent off early, he just said, "We've got a lot of games. I want to keep him fresh." And I mean, it's just logic, but at some point he's going to look at this 32-year-old guy and say, "Yeah, I've got a lot of games. I want to keep him fresh." If they're playing Real Madrid on a Wednesday, he's not going to give him 90 minutes against Ipswich. Like that just seems logical to me. And I feel we have to just remember it's a new coach. And I think I could be wrong, but I'm going to call it now. I don't think Salah's going to play 90 every week. And if he's not going to play 90, you don't need him in your team.
Yeah, we're not saying sell him right now. If you're on Wildcard, then yes, you have the opportunity to rebuild your team, a Salah-less team. But if you have Salah in the team, we're not saying that he's a definite sell. That's not what we're saying. We're just looking towards the future, I guess.
I'm getting very scared. Okay, let's
yeah, someone's gonna take our quote and what are these guys talking about? They're recommending everyone to sell Salah this week.
Yeah, be the first time a content creator said something that's wrong. Let's talk about very briefly before we move on to fixtures. Southampton Forest. I think Southampton will be the worst team in the league. I'm going to call it now. We've got this XG plot from Forest, the Forest game. Southampton at home had 2 shots in the box, almost no XG, and did nothing against Nottingham Forest. They conceded almost 3 XG against one of the most boring teams led by a very boring ball manager who was Mourinho's second choice goalkeeper when he was playing. So that's how boring he is. Like that's who he learned from. And yeah, I just think Southampton look like an awful team. This is the team to target. And back to 7 million mids. Brian Mbeumo and Wissa, who's gone up today. He's up to 6.1 mil. If you've got Brentford guys, if you're planning to walk out in game week 4, your transfer this week has to be a Brentford player.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. However, though, Brentford's fixtures after this, it's tough.
I said if you're wildcarding in game week 4, it's very specific. Because a lot of people want to wildcard in game week 4 because the international break, need something to do, don't really want to talk to the family for 2 weeks. So activate wildcard.
Fair. So it's just a pure 1 week punt.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Although I don't think Spurs is a bad fixture. I think City is the tricky one and not ideal.
I guess it's one of those that you look at the colors and it's like, oh, feels scary. City and Spurs back to back, both red. But like you said, actually, if you can stomach that probable blank against City, which even so may not really be a blank, seeing how City conceded, this week. And then Spurs, definitely scoreable. And I have to say, the Brentford boys has been on fire, both Mbeumo and Wissa. So I would be very happy having Mbeumo. Because after that, after Spurs, West Ham, Wolves, United, Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth, it's a nice fixture run.
One more thing about that is I when I was discussing why I wanted a wildcard, I didn't mention this, but transfer window closes on Friday, deadline's on Saturday. And so you should know, no guarantees, you should know if Tony's going. You may not because the Saudi window closes like 2 days later, so maybe that's not confirmed. But at this stage, it seems really unlikely that he stays. And if he goes, then yeah, Mbeumo's on pens. 7 million Brentford on pens, midfielder.
Yeah, fair. Very good.
So we've got FDR, which is borrowed from Reddit. Credit to Reddit. Reddit's not a bad place sometimes. You get some decent stuff on there. Anything in terms of fixture, Sam, that's sort of like leaping out to you in terms of
course,
teams
Villa.
to attack? Yeah.
Right? Villa's the standout here, I think. Rogers. And I think if you can get Watkins in this week, if you're wildcarding, you should try and fit Watkins in. That's what I feel.
No minutes concerns. I think John Duran's
No minutes concerns.
really good in cameos.
No,
And
I think
Watkins
it's
is coming off early.
He's just getting into it, but once he fully gets into it, Watkins definitely main man. And he looks sharp, I mean, he didn't score, but if he did, what I'm saying is that he's getting into the right positions. His finishing is not sharp, but the runs, the positions that's getting into is there. You can see it coming. And, with a fixture run like this is a great place to start. I feel Watkins would be a really great asset to bring in this week if you can.
I'm going to wait till he starts playing 90 minutes. I think, first of all, he looks fine. I mean, he should have scored this week. It's just that I don't like an attacker. I don't like a 9 million attacker playing 60 minutes each week. I want to see 90s in, which I think will come maybe only in game week 4, maybe game week 5. I don't know. They've got Champions League, so John Duran still needs to get minutes. And Emery doesn't care about your fantasy team. So Emery has no issues subbing off Watkins for a very dependable, good striker in John Duran, who they were quite reluctant about selling. And so I think Watkins is a fine gamble, but that's what he is. He's a gamble. You may not get 90 minutes, and I don't want to take that gamble. Not yet.
Okay, fair. I guess, like in your case, you're already gambling on Rogers. You don't want to take 2 gambles on 2 players who may only play 60 minutes. Yeah, so fair enough, I think. There are some concerns there. Other than Villa, Konsa on defense, I guess, is the best defender option. They do have a 4.0 defender. What's his name? I can't even pronounce it, Siva. Go for it.
Kostan Nedeljkovic, who, to be fair, we did talk about in one of our preseason pods. And now it's his big moment. But I think they're being linked to Gertrude. Any respectable FIFA player. Yes, Luke Terrell. Yeah, there you go. See, anyone who plays FIFA will know these people. So, or FM.
Or Football Manager. Or Football Manager, yeah.
Yeah, Gertrude is more of a centre back / right back, as opposed to a pure right back. So probably what Villa would like to have in their system. Maatsen is still not getting 90 minutes, which I'm really annoyed because this was the run I had in my mind for Ian Maatsen. Yeah. Just have to wait, I guess.
Yep. So Konsa, I guess, is if you want a defender right now, Konsa, the 4.0 defender whose name I can't pronounce, it's not guaranteed to keep his place once cash comes back. However, he might.
We should just call him the 4 million defender whose name we can't pronounce. That's very hard. The Premier League have actually released like a 1-hour video of all the players saying their names to the screen.
Because they're tired of FPL content creators getting names wrong, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No offense. I like some of the content creators have absolutely butchered names. Mazraoui, I've heard so many different versions of Mazraoui this week. It's painful.
Mazraoui's kind of straightforward, isn't it?
Sam, we're from a different part of the world, mate.
Pronounce it as it's spelled. Anyway, yeah. So Villa fixtures look good. Chelsea fixtures looks good. Brentford we discussed already. Fulham immediate fixtures looks good, but they do have some tough ones here and there.
Yeah,
Other
but
than
I
that,
think one thing that sort of leaps out to me is that Spurs fixtures, like why I'm comfortable wildcarding is Spurs got ahead of Newcastle. Okay, we didn't speak about Newcastle, but a lot of people who aren't wildcarding are doing so because they think that the Wolves fixture is like the money fixture that you hold on to. But I was really concerned by Newcastle's performance against Bournemouth. Like I thought they were really poor. Bournemouth controlled that game. Howe started with a very weird lineup. Bench Lewis Hall so he could play Emil Kraft for reasons I don't understand. And it only changed once he made all his subs. He brought on Harvey Barnes, he brought on Lewis Hall, and just threw everything at it. I don't know if he was just doing that to make a point, like to the Saudi owners, like, I need money. You're forcing me to play Emil Kraft and Sean Longstaff and Jacob Murphy in 2024, and I need money. But it wasn't great. And so, small sample sizes, can't draw conclusions. But I just feel like I'm happy to back off from Newcastle for the next few games. I think Spurs and City in the next 4 is mixed. And so I'm happy to back off, and also to back off from Isak. So is that too... Am I jumping to a conclusion?
yeah, I've seen a lot of people moving off on Isak, and I'm kind of torn. On one hand, I see your points 100%. On the other hand, I feel that Isak has shown in his past 2 seasons that when he's fit, he will return. And it's been such a consistent asset. His only problem has always been his fitness. He tends to get injured. Wilson will come in and things like that. But whenever he really gets the minutes, he returns. So I'm kind of torn, Siva. We have this, it's new information versus old data, I guess. If I'm on wildcard, I'll be very tempted. I think it's just the fact that I'm not on wildcard, so I don't think it's worth wasting a transfer to actually remove Isak from your team.
Fair. Before we move on, Eze and Bruno, which I think is the most... If Nkunku didn't exist, Eze and Bruno would have been, I think, a transfer out this week for a lot of people, whether it's right or wrong, because everyone's really frustrated. So as a Bruno owner, and I suppose somebody who's always appreciated Eze, and you've owned him before, what do you think about these two guys?
Bruno is very, very frustrating because if I'm not mistaken, right now he has the highest underperformance in terms of expected goal involvements, XG and XA. Could have had back-to-back hauls in these past 2 weeks, but at the same time, I was speaking with a friend on this, and he did remind me. XG tells one part, so you could say, he was just unlucky. But is he really unlucky, or is it just he's not a striker and therefore not capable of finishing like a striker, despite being presented with good chances? So will he play better if he moves back and Xerxes comes in? Will that affect his points potential? I don't know. I'm very, very tempted to remove Bruno despite his good underlying data. However, this week looks bad. I mean, they're playing against Liverpool, but after that you get Southampton, so it feels, if you take a longer view on it in the next 3 fixtures, there is chance for returns there. However, United are so inconsistent. They could return against Liverpool and suddenly beat Liverpool this week and then proceed to lose the next 3-4 games. Lose against Southampton or something like that. Like I definitely can see United doing that. For peace of mind, Siva, as a United fan, I don't want to have the double sadness of them playing badly and my FPL team performing badly at the same time. So I am 90% sure I'm going to remove Bruno this week.
Interesting. You're one of the few people I've heard who said that, because I think most Bruno owners are confident that he has somehow been wronged. And to be fair, if Xerxes doesn't touch that ball, he would have got the assist this week for Garnacho. So there's something to be discussed there, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know if I'd sell Bruno. I think you've just been really unlucky if you haven't got returns.
There is unlucky, but then there's also just not being a good finisher.
Yeah.
Bruno, I mean, traditionally Bruno's points has always come from longer range shots and things like that. So again, that's also the fact that he's 8.5, and you could do a lot with that money. So yeah, 8.4, I think he dropped My original plan, I was really considering Bruno to Saka straight because I have the money in the bank, but because Bruno dropped, I can't do it anymore. So we'll see, Sivan.
I
Eze,
wouldn't.
sorry,
Eze.
yeah. Eze, on the other hand, I would keep. I think because he's just the main talisman still. Unlucky in a way. However, like we said, he scored midweek, had a lot of chances. However, Palace as a team as a whole, though, that's my major concern. But I guess maybe it's the price. I'm happier to stomach Eze because it's cheaper, whereas Bruno is 8.5, and it feels like I could do a lot with 8.5.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason you say that because, I mean, to me, Bruno's a much better asset than Eze. I think Eze and Palace are way more concerning. And I'm quite happy that Palace won against Norwich last night, 4-0. They were basically playing a bunch of NPCs, okay? Like, never heard of any of these Norwich players, okay? So this result means nothing. And Palace look suspect, and they look like they're a bit confused. And I don't think their fixtures are great. Chelsea's, who knows what kind of team you get. Leicester's fine, but then they play United, Everton, Liverpool, Forest. These aren't fixtures that scream out to me. And I think in a team that's still so much is in flux, they've lost some of their best players. I think Eze is actually more of a sell than Bruno.
Maybe because again, there are a lot of players in that price range who, you can move Eze to Mbeumo. Like that would be a great move, I think. Yeah. Similarly for United, I think part of it, maybe Siva, is also I feel that Garnacho is actually the best United asset to have. He offers a lot more attacking potential. Yes, he hasn't started yet, but in the both games where he's come on, he returned in the first game and he really should have got returned in the second game. So and it's cheaper. So if I were to have a United asset right now, I will go for Garnacho instead.
And I suppose the question we didn't ask, but we discussed it earlier, is that Diaz and Jota, 7.5, 7.5, 7.6. Why are we messing about with other teams whose attack isn't as good?
Fair, maybe. However, I do feel Garnacho would probably return points more consistently than Diaz. Because when you watch United games, every time he comes on, he's pretty much our only main attacking threat. Although we haven't played a full 90 with Garnacho, Xerxes, and all these guys, so things may look different. But if he carries on from last season, I would say Garnacho is more essential to United's team than Diaz is to Liverpool.
I think Diaz outscores Garnacho this season easily. So let's revisit that.
Okay.
I don't think it's even a contest, but yeah, let's just see.
Really? No, I think Garnacho definitely outscores Diaz by the end of the season.
Need to clip that. I'll make a note of this. Okay. So
let's talk about.
Let's make a bet. Yeah. Let's make a bet. Captaincy this week. Haaland, for those who have him, I suppose. Or since you don't have him.
I don't have Salah either.
You know what? I mean, I don't think anyone was capping Salah this week, no matter how much we laugh at United. So
everyone's scared of United.
I mean, Old Trafford away doesn't feel like a captainable. This is a United team that has issues, but they're not in crisis, and so I wouldn't captain Salah this week. So Saka, Palmer. Okay. If you had Saka, would you captain him over Palmer?
Ooh. How does Brighton look in terms of defense? I don't think I can definitely see goals in this fixture. For both sides, I think.
Well, so that's what we've got clean sheet odds on the screen, and the bookies think Brighton's the second worst team this week, which is weird, right? Because that's not mentally where we're at.
However, in terms of conceding, yes. I mean, can Brighton go away to Arsenal and keep a clean sheet? I don't think so. I don't think that's happening. So yeah, I think I would strongly consider captaining Saka.
Okay. I think Palmer's ahead of Saka. I think for those people who have Palmer, this is an opportunity this week that you get with Palace's issues. Even if they buy 3 new centre-backs on Thursday, they're not going to be ready for Saturday or Sunday. I don't know when they're playing. This weekend. And so, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. But it's hard to look past Haaland, right? This feels like a very I don't know, West Ham. What did you think about West Ham? They seem, well, they had a okay performance this week.
Okay, I guess. It's really hard, but you cannot compare West Ham's performance against Palace and how they would perform against City. You know, it's you can't compare those two teams, Siva. In
I
other
will
words, I
say one
think they
thing
will get smashed. However, not as, not. I think they can keep it competitive. Let's put it that way, because West Ham are pretty dangerous on the counter. Players like Bowen, they can do it. I see goals for both sides. I think City will still probably win. However, 3-1, maybe 4-1, very possible.
I mean, I wouldn't bet against Paqueta. Just go leave it there.
You see what he did with the free kick?
That is, so for those who haven't seen it, Paqueta basically just did his level best to get a yellow card this week and failed by trying to rush a free kick before it was taken. And this is
No, but
clearly
he touched the ball. It was fair, I think. He touched the ball after
He is
the referee blew
playing-
the whistle. So.
he's playing like a man who knows he's going to jail for the rest of his life and just like, I'm just going to enjoy my last few months of freedom, doing whatever I want. Okay.
But yeah, I
okay,
mean, I think if you the argument with having Haaland is that the only way you can make it worth 15 mil is that if you captain him every week. So you got to captain Haaland if you want him. Like, you have no choice.
you may be onto something, and I guess that's why a lot of people don't have him.
Yeah.
I've got just one or two wildcard teams to show you, Sam. This is one I put up early in the week that got a lot of feedback, let's say. It's no longer affordable if you didn't go for it already because of price rises. It's Raya in goal, Anthony Robinson, Rico Lewis, Konza, Smith Rowe, Palmer, Saka, Salah, Rogers.
Let's talk about Rico Lewis for a bit, because I think it's a great move you did, Siva. He came really, really close to returning. Would have been a massive, I mean, not massive, I guess, but some points would have justified it tremendously. However, Walker is coming back, so I don't know how long this will last, but it looks good. I mean, if you're wildcarding this week, I would bring Rico Lewis in. Great move, Siva. Very happy.
I don't care about Kyle Walker. He's old. Rico Lewis is the guy right now. He should have scored this week. You ride that out until Pep gets upset about his haircut and sends him back to the reserves. You hold on, you ride it out. You don't wait for him to be nailed. You just run with it. If he keeps starting, he's game-breaking bargain. If he loses his place, he's a 4.5 million defender. Don't tell me you can't replace that. So I think it is worth a gamble, and I was really unlucky this week. As usual, City score from the one. They concede from the one chance they conceded all game, 5 minutes in.
It's to be expected, which is why I don't own Guardiola.
Yeah, so I mean, you might as well get shafted at 4.5 than getting shafted at 6.
Yeah. Can I talk about Raya for a bit though? Because before the season started, we both said, premium keepers don't justify their price because they don't get saves, they don't get bonus. Raya's been getting bonus the first 2 games. I don't know, is 2 games too early to call a pattern, or is it really reflective of the new bonus point systems that keepers have a good chance to get bonus now? So he got 1 bonus point in the first game and 3 points against Villa. Sorry.
I think what you'll see is ball-playing keepers seem to be decent for bonus. Especially when they get a lot of passes in. And so Raya has gotten bonus. Edison got bonus in week 1. Jason Steele has been getting bonus points. So that definitely seems to be a factor. And I think where Raya benefits. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Jason Steele has got 1 bonus point.
Yeah, because they kept 1 clean so far.
Yeah, but
what I would, I think the thing that sets Raya apart from all these other guys is Raya is the cheapest route into a defense that everybody agrees is one of, if not the best defense in the league. And so that is something Raya holds over everybody else. And again, Raya is one of those things. He's 5.5. If he goes up to 5.6, you're going to feel like an idiot if you don't have him on wildcard. Whereas at 5.5, yeah. So I think I have had Raya in most of my wildcard teams. I think if you're on wildcard this week, I find it, yes, the next 3 are difficult, but Horizon has to be way longer because he's a keeper. You're never going to transfer out your keeper. Ideally, you don't want to be using transfers in this spot. I'm happy to just stick Raya and never think about that place and just play with 1 mil less than everybody else.
Yeah. Plus, if it follows on from last season, it seems Arsenal tend to do well, very, very well defensively against in the tough fixtures, against the big teams. 1-0 wins and things like that.
And a lot of people keep saying, oh, the clean sheet was lucky this week. They were lucky against Villa. Look, clean sheets are lucky by definition, right? No one is keeping a clean sheet against Aston Villa, running the game and shutting them out. Even Man City, you're going to give up chances against these are all top level teams. But when Arsenal play Leicester in game week 6, Raya is going to sleep, fall asleep, have a nap, and still get his clean. So
No,
you want to be that.
you just jinxed it, Siva. Vardy's gonna score. You just jinxed it.
Vardy's not going to stay fit until game week 6. Okay,
That's the thing. You get injured from now, and game week 6 come on at halftime and score a goal. You just jinxed it.
Maybe. One of the things I got about this particular draft, and just sort of, kind of getting your thoughts. How do you feel about something as unbalanced as this, like a formium setup? Or do you think
I don't
a lot
like
of people kept saying you don't like it? Okay, fair enough.
I don't like it personally. Back to my point, I feel if you're getting Haaland, don't get Salah. That's my point, I think, because it's just too much money. I would rather have Jota in this team, Captain Haaland every week, and then spread out more funds here and there, because you're running with Pedro, Rogers, and Smith Rowe. Yes, this week it will have worked out well because both Pedro and Smith Rowe returned. However, will that happen every single week? How consistent are their returns going to be? Plus, you're running without any premium defenders as well, which I'm happy at the start of the season, but eventually you want to put in more money there, possibly.
Yeah, but this I thought was a good illustration, which is fair. Totally fair. But I thought this team is a good illustration of what you can do when you sell Salah. Because if you take Salah out here, you can turn João Pedro into Kai Havertz. You can turn Anthony Robinson or Konza into Trent. If you go one step further, you take out Saka and bring him down to Havertz. You can bring Rogers up to Mbeumo, and so there's so much you can do with these funds, and that's kind of why, to your point, like Salah feels, when there's Diaz and Jota, just feels like something you can get away without.
Yeah. I mean, if you reduce Salah to Jota 7.5, isn't there a 5 mil saving?
Yeah.
So that's the difference between Salah, Smith Rowe, and Jota, Saka. Or Jota, Son. I mean, you already have Saka here, but just an example. So if you're not captaining them, then I think it's really not worth having both Haaland and Salah.
Yeah, I think so. We did answer the question, see, that we started off with, and you thought we'd just end up with no conclusions. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so since we're both slightly under the weather, I take it, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, sorry, listeners, if you hear me coughing and clear my throat at the back.
Yeah, no worries. So we will see you after a very unnecessary international break, but in the meantime,
get your green arrows, guys, and review our podcast. If you're on Spotify, click the 5-star thingy. Apple, click the 5-star. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, because you like us, right? And we're good guys that you want to support.
Yeah, or send us negative feedback. We take any feedback.
Yeah, we will. But until then, see you guys next week. Have a good game week.